So,
Let's go for it.
first off, thank you guys for joining me. I am both a big fan of both of you guys. That's kind of like my whole, that's the cool thing about, I want to say, with this vodcast, podcast, whatever. I am not a podcaster by any means. Let me make for sure that Emmy's husband, and so
Oh, I
I
thought that's what was happening. You're not a podcast.
Emmy's
Okay.
husband of podcasting. The dude's won awards for podcasting. I'm not trying to be in that lane. I'm not a podcaster by any means. I do this strictly because I love to connect. I love to have fun. I'm all about collaboration. To me, it's that's what art is about: is collaborating and being around people in your same interest in your same circle. Music, fashion, and art is kind of what I've kind of always loved and always been about. And I try to connect with people that's showed those same influences. And so, again, I'm a big fan of both of you guys. Emmy, your newest single EP is, we've been rocking that in the house for a while.
Oh.
Jess, wow. So I'm a little that you haven't released something since 2019. That's
Hey,
yeah.
been putting in the bag.
So welcome.
Yeah.
Third Thursday with the FEY. I'm Zach Watkins, aka alternative R&B artist, the FEY. And this is basically my vodka in a sense where I pretty much want to connect with cool people and shoot the shit with cool people. There's no formal way to this. Jess has actually been invited on a while back, and I have my band members and stuff with me present. I took like a year off, kind of just myself with. I mean, I was just diving into so many different things. I've started up my own business. I've kind of moved away from traveling and doing shows on the road, focusing more so on music production and collaborating with other artists and stuff like that again, which is probably one of the most exciting things. I'm like loving where things are going musically with on my side of things. And then that's when I was like, you know what, I really want to bring this back because that's, since I'm getting back into working with other artists and doing that stuff, I want to connect again, yeah. So here we are. I just want to chat with you guys and see what on you guys' trajectory and plans and basically narrow it down to, I guess, to one kind of lane though. And the specific reason why I chose two women in this vodcast is because we're at a sad point where women are so not present in the music, and that's why I titled this episode "Gotta Be Witchcraft." So my whole backstory is when you think back on like old times, and I'm so bad with history in itself, so I'm just gonna say old times. It's easier for me to say old times. So you look back at like older times, a woman doing any sort of stepping in the front was considered witchcraft. I mean, women were, put on stakes and things. I don't want to get too gruesome, but literally to the point where it was. I mean, it was terrible to be. The moment you did anything against the male's right, against to whatever, especially when it came to careers or any sort of out of the box thinking, you were considered a witch. And so I was watching a movie the other day, and it kind of made me really think about like, is that the same type of thing in another way that's going on with the industry right now? My favorite artists to date are women. Like literally, my two favorite artists to date are women, and I know I know for a fact there's a lot of males, in music or just enthusiasts in itself who are very, very passionate about women artists. And why is it such a thing right now that and for years, since the industry, since music has became a profession, where women are just not present, statistically present, and that's just from what the stats say. And I'll actually read some of these stats, and I want to know if you guys know of any of this or you feel that way. But first, before we do that, it don't matter which one you start first. Say who you are, what you do, and yeah, let's get a little introduction on that end. Let's start with Emmy.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, no,
I was about to
you
step in
go.
there.
You
He's like, well,
go. No,
you know, he's the boss. He's the boss.
You're gonna go this way?
Yeah.
Oh, see, on my camera, I am there. That's where I am. So I was like, that makes sense. I'll go first. Okay. Okay. Well, most people call me Jess, but my artist name is Jae Maure. I'm a writer, songwriter, singer, doing more cover work right now. Outside of that, I am just living, you know, living life. But yeah, I consider just that I'm pursuing songwriting and recording art. I can't.
No,
is
you're
it
good
cutting out for you guys?
my end.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I feel like it's.
You're good on my end.
Okay. Yeah. So I hope we caught all that because
Nice.
I heard
I thought it
everything.
was cutting
That's
out.
awesome.
So what about you, Emmy?
I am
All right, Emmy, go ahead.
Emmy Joe is what I go by. And I am a singer-songwriter, and my husband and I just moved to New York, so I'm out here like making music and also baristaing and like living my Hallmark dreams.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
So has it snowed out there yet?
Literally, we've had like no snow.
Okay, so it's not as Hallmark, I guess, right
It's not.
now.
It's not as Hallmark as I would hope,
Yeah.
but there's still time.
You like
There's still time for it to snow. There's always got to be that last snow.
Yeah. Do you like the
And then
yeah.
I'll let you know when that like final like Hallmark moment happens.
Hey, like I said, it's been snowing. It snowed in, you know, Hall and Lincoln, pretty in depth. You know, it was a lot. You know, I almost didn't make it down to Lincoln, where I would like to shoot all this stuff because it was so bad. Yeah. Well, here we are. Let's dive into some of this stuff. And I think one of the big things I kind of want out of this, and in the formal way, I have a whole bunch of notes over here, and I will definitely spread this away 100 different. But you know, obviously, talk to two talented artists who, you know, two talented women artists who, you know, this is not a hobby of any sort. I know both of you are very professional. Basically, hear you guys' side of what you feel like is the why there is the lack of industry, or you know, the issues going on with women in the industry. And so basically, one of the things I read the other day was that out of all the artists present in the music industry, only 21.8% is women. And that was the number that was, wow, I come close. Here's where it gets even crazier, because what's crazy is when you guys, you know, like you guys both title yourselves singer songwriter, you know, and that number is 12.7, so it's even lower than just the art. And then as like producers and people or women who create music, or you know, create instrumental or produce for other artists, only 2.8. So I basically, you know, the staggering to me, it was almost like it was a shock that I was way off. And I remember when I looked into it at first, when I had this conversation, and I knew I wanted about this, I was like thinking 40, you know, 55%. I was going to say those. I was around those numbers. And when I searched it, and this survey happened. This is from 2012, is whatever, but it's the biggest survey Spotify, Apple, between them surveyed. And that's like, again, I thought the numbers were bigger, but I was such a shock. And when I knew I want to talk, like, you know, I really want to hear how you guys feel. And so one of the first questions I want to ask both of you, and it don't matter who goes first, whatever, is what is there any bit that you feel as an artist, woman artist, is there any pressure, or do you sense any of that as artists, singers, songwriters as for yourself? Do you feel any of that? Do you feel those numbers? Do you like see that you're going to work with other producers or going to the studios or you know, in that sense, or all the other industry stuff we have to do as independent artists? Do you feel that? Do you feel like that number where, or does that number shock you?
No, you go. No, you. I saw you.
go ahead
You were
this time.
thinking. You go.
Yeah. Actually, like the number shocked me when he said it because I'm like, there's a lot of female artists I listen to, but actually operating in the industry, it's very rare to walk into like a session and there's another female, and it's just a man's industry. Like percentage wise, it makes sense. As far as your other question, Emmy needs to answer that first because I could go on for days
and I
on
was
what I think the reason is.
Like, I feel like for me personally, like I feel so like exposed to so many women artists. That's like the majority of what I listen to. So it's hard for me to like, I guess, even think like that it's a man's industry because that's not like my personal first thought. But then when you say like going into the recording studio, like I've only ever worked with like a white man producer. Like I haven't had the opportunity to work with a woman or a person like anyone of color. So like it would be super like fascinating to have that
That's
opportunity.
you know, it's actually at that too because I actually looked in that. It's another statistic is that women make up half of the female artists. In 2021, women of color make up half of the artists. And that's like, so it's that you said that, like, you know, when you go to the studio and you work like the people behind the music, most of them are white males, you know, in that sense. And crazy because, like, you know, the statistic says that women of color make up half of the women, you know, so that's crazy. Half of that 0.8 is women of color. And that's like, what's even more, that's another shock to me, I guess. I mean, I don't know. That's another number, I guess, that I could look on both sides, wonder why, you know. But I guess like I said, for another other side of that question was like, what type of pressure, I guess, that give you? Because that as I see on the outside, as two artists who have the talent and present it in a way where you know, you want the world to know. I mean, that's, you know, that's why as an end result, I think everyone wants that. I know good and well art create because the only reason why we don't create is to sell our music. I you know, I know myself, I would do this free, you know, I've done it for free so long. It has nothing to do with that. You know, I love to create. I have to let it out. Otherwise I can't feel it. But at the end, the result, we all want to want to relate to our music.
Successful.
So with walking down that path, is there pressure as a woman? Is there any type of pressure you feel with that? Like, what are some of the issues that arise, or the things that you feel like, you know, you feel like you have to work harder, or feel like you have to jump over hurdles to, you know, to gain more of this profession?
I don't think I've ever like genuinely, I don't know if I've ever really thought about it, because throughout, at least with my experience of releasing music, I feel like I relate a lot more to like what you said in the beginning of like just writing music because like I feel like I just need to get it out of me. Like I do think at the end of the day, like everybody, like you said, would love to have people hear their music. But for me, I really try to reduce the amount of pressure that I put on myself. Like even if one person relates to something that I have to say, to me, that's like the biggest win. of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Like
if there's one listener, like they
Yeah.
have my whole heart. And so I'm someone who likes to keep my expectations low because I don't like to set myself up to be let down. And so if like I'm just like enjoying the experience of doing it, then I am like never gonna be let down with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I don't know if I've like really put some thought into like if there's all this pressure because I like don't like to put pressure on myself.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you're in a great space.
I know you.
I went through
so
much pressure. You said what?
What about you?
Oh my gosh. So actually, this is a great question for me. Huh?
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
So this last year, actually, the reason this is a great question for me because this past entire year, it's been about a full year. I just stepped back. I was like, I don't feel like I'm being fulfilled. I feel like I was doing it for external reasons. And a lot of it came from pressure from myself, but it was outside pressure also. And I was no longer feeling like I was doing music for myself or to get that release. It felt more of like, I have to do this because I started it and blah, 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 whatever the reason may be. So this past year, I completely stepped back. I was connecting that feeling with music itself. I was thinking that, okay, maybe it's not for me because whenever I do this, I just feel this weight, this pressure and no fulfillment. So the best thing I think I did was just step back and reevaluate everything. And just recently, I just started doing covers and releasing them a little bit here and there, realizing now that it had nothing to do with that. It was the pressures of being a woman in the industry, the adversity that I dealt with. Now my perspective is a little different. So coming back into the industry, and I mean, I was always in it, but I wasn't as active the past year that I have been before. So coming back into it now, I just know I need to navigate differently. I'm really reclusive about who I work with. If I've gotten invited to sessions, I'm like, not for me. Yep. Like I can do everything myself now. And I realize that, and the powers came back. So it's cool to hear that you haven't dealt with that pressure because, oh my gosh, I've dealt with it to the point where I was like, I hate music. I didn't even want to listen to music for a long time. I was like, just nothing. I'd hear music and it'd make me cry.
From what I know, and that's awesome, to hear on your side too, Jess, because like that's crazy. That's exactly where I was, where I was over the year. I moved back, all the music, all the touring, all the whatever. It's totally separated myself, even from bandmates, even whatever. Totally went isolated by myself. Kind of removed myself from making music for a bit, just to kind of like find out who I was again. Fired back,
right?
And in ways that like I probably never felt if I still was doing the same thing. I jumped so much, like I signed a record deal in 2017, and once I signed that record deal, I'm honest, and I feel like that was since I music, I knew this is what I was making music for so many different artists and all that stuff. Knew what I wanted to do. When I was 18, I was like, I need a record deal. This is what I'm going to do. So I chased everything possibly, whatever. And I was still creating at my best, but the minute I kind of got into this label sense, I kind of lost. I got competitive. I tried to compete so much. I tried to hop into this world where it was like, okay, now it's about competing. Then I got a publishing deal. I got my first publishing deal 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, well, now I'm going to write songs for syncing and licensing like crazy. And I'm going to all the sync. And I started losing why I was creating for the most part. And it was really about all these little stuff. So I took that year to separate. So that's, I feel like, and what's crazy about you from the outside, right, on my end, from what's crazy about you two guys' different paths is, Jess, I've known you to like, more studio sessions, joining up the studio sessions, being, being a part of a lot of studios, whatever, and that's, more on that path. And from what I know of course, so, it's crazy because it's found from what you guys said, it's exactly your path. From what I know of Emmy, it's more like I'm creating for me. You know, this is creating for me, and it's just
Right.
boom, boom. You know, and so I think that honestly where why both of you have felt a certain whatever, because I can't wait to feel. I mean, now I've been starting to feel more like Emmy. You know, like over the last 4 or 5 months,
Same.
like finally, like oh my god, okay,
Right.
this is what I'm supposed. I'm doing this for me. I'm not for anybody else. Fuck everybody else. I'm doing this for me.
I love this topic because it's so relative. It was just this past year has been a journey with that for me. So I love that you're bringing it. But we did kind of have a little bit of a discussion about it previously.
Hold on.
So, you know.
Can you hear me now?
Kind of.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on.
Put your subtitle on. We need to hit Instagram Live. Be like, can you just put up some like suggestions of like what might be being
Who would
said?
take that? Would they would just use it like, because that's like no, I would.
I mean,
They have.
I know.
I think they said this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where they have technology to do so.
Exactly.
But okay, so let me ask a question, because I have some general questions more directed to individual, like you guys individually. But so I this in 2019. I mean, I guess you kind of answered this already. That was the last time you put out a song. So is that because of you know, your state of mind with music?
Yeah, it had a lot to do with, well, definitely that, but also just I was going through other things emotionally that I never stopped creating music. Let's say that. I have stuff that I'm sitting on, like, what am I doing? Every once in a while, I'll go back and listen to it, like, that is so fire. And I'm like, no, but I don't feel like it yet. I'm just not there where I want to share that. I think it's just when, and I love that Emmy hasn't experienced this, and I hope that like she never would, but there's a vulnerability of sharing music, especially when it's coming from the heart. And when you put it out and it's almost like it's praise, it's praise, it's praise, and then it's gone. And it's like you had to go through turmoil to even write that. And there's just no one's there. And not that there was expecting a certain reward or a certain result, but it just felt like the stuff that came with it wasn't worth putting my heart out there like that, if that makes sense. And at the same time of going through that, I was going through the stuff, the pressures of the industry and the obstacles I faced in the industry. So I had a lot of reevaluating to do. I wasn't sure if I didn't know if I wanted to do music anymore. And I'm just being honest, I went through that phase of just, this might not be for me. And I feel great that I'm back and I know it's for me, and reevaluating all of that brought me to that conclusion. But 2019, yeah, I think that's why I stopped, because it's just, yeah, the reevaluating I had.
Yeah.
Also, it was a pandemic and I moved across the country in the middle of it with an 11-year-old. So my stress of that was a little bit heavier, but I didn't stop making music. It's just releasing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a priority.
I will say, just like by listening to you, like going back to you saying like not seeing the results you're looking for, your audience is out there. Like they just like, we need to just like get them to you. And that's like we're so lucky to have technology, and like it's so crazy because you just need to have that moment where like your people, like they finally get the opportunity to even hear you. So like, I don't know, my husband is like so good with like TikTok and everything, and like that's what you do, girl.
Absolutely,
we gotta get you out there on the TikTok.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother.
So silly, but it works.
Right, doing
so
all
silly,
these modern dances. I've considered, there's certain days I woke up like, I could do that. But no, honestly, I don't think that would be my approach though, because it's more fulfilling for me to, like, doing it for me right now is just why I do it. And if I put it out and it gets a result, like it's how you were saying earlier, where if it helps one person, it's like, yes, like that's where I'm at now. So before, like I just had to go through that growth of realizing that it is for me. Because I did get a lot of support and I did get a lot of listens and I did have that support with it, but it felt like it was taking more than it was giving for me. And I don't know if I'm able to put that into words yet of why, but
how long have you been creating and releasing music, Jess?
Well, consistently since 2016, I've actively been in the industry. Prior to that, I dabbled. I think I met you way before all that. I think working with Ashton, through an entertainment company that I met Ashton through. So I think I met you way before that. So I did stuff here and there, but actually actively doing it 2016.
Emmy, what about you?
So
I have been writing music since probably about 2018, and I started producing the music in 2021.
Because I think, you know, I mean, any art, whether it's music, whether it's painting, you know, artists have a very emotional, you know, mind, heart. You know, we pour out our emotions in and out, you know, day in and out. So I honestly think everybody goes through that time where you question yourself and you question your art, or it starts to tug at you more than it's starting to give. I think anybody goes through that, you know, and it matters, you know, and I think it kind of deals with how long you've been doing it, you know, and how, you know, and how long you've been putting yourself out there. But I think it's going to happen. I think it happens to everybody, and I think it's going to happen to everyone who ever does art. You know, creating is one of those things that, like, you're literally leaving yourself for other people. That's a job that nobody else can really do. You know, I mean, that a lot of people just can't handle. And I think sometimes, you know, we take it for granted because it's just like, oh, we're just making songs and we're just whatever. But no, you're leaving your flesh for these people, like, you know, and that's tough. That takes a lot from yourself. And I think no matter what, everybody will go through that time. I know there's been so many times like, man, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this shit no more, you know. But then you wake up the next morning and I put my headphones on. I listen to a song. I'm like, I'm the fucking dopest thing in the world. Like, I mean, that's like that's artists. I mean, everybody goes through that, you know. And I think no matter what, you know, we will always go down that path. Let me ask. Okay, so that question, you know, specific for Jess for the most part. Let me ask Emmy this. So is this single EP that you've done? It's a EP, right? Because it's 3 songs, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I won my. But anyways, this is the first one you released?
Yes. This is the first one. I only have 5 songs out, and we listen to them on repeat in the home.
Of course.
So it's time to make more because I need to build that. I can only stand the 5 for so long.
So your process behind that, and this is where I'm like a nerd about, is the process behind a project. You know, how it was created, who produced it, what was that more so done in New York? Was it done in Nebraska? What was the process?
Yeah. So are we talking the EP or the singles or all 5? Like, what do you want to know? All 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every detail. In order.
I was born in 1997.
Yeah. Starting from the very jump.
So, yeah, I would say my actual, like, creating music started when, for 2020 Christmas, my husband bought me studio time with Dylan Parker. And yeah.
That's my brother. That's my.
I know. That's like how I learned to be one.
I actually don't know who's out of Omaha. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually how I learned about the FEY, because he gets so excited about you. Like, he was like, this is the guy. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's the guy. But he brought me to the studio time, and so I was like, okay, I only have one full song, and we have to do it. It's this really sad song, and I didn't know that my husband was like trying to get me to like produce a happy song because he wanted to like propose to me to my happy song. I'm over here like crying. So we produced that song. It was like it just like got a really positive response, but it was also just like cool to be like, oh my gosh, I have a song on Spotify. Like I don't have to like hit play on my my videos on my phone. Hitting play to like hear how it sounds. It can just do it itself. And then I got like really excited about just the whole experience of like being in the studio, and like when I go in, I'm like, okay, I have words and I have like these chords on the piano, and I like want you to like be creative with like what you can do to that, and like just like let me sing the words that I have. And that's kind of how it's always been with every project.
Nice.
Yeah.
So started with your words.
Dylan.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, Dylan's the one who produced Is That Enough? Yes, Is That Enough? And then
crazy that you're saying that now, because I remember when I came into the studio one day to work with him, and he was like, he wants to just kind of pop something on, and what he's doing. Like, oh, what you been doing? What you working on? And I remember that now. So that's and as a Dylan perfectionist of tone, he's really about tone. He's all about like, I love working with Dylan. He's he's the type that can take what you hear in your head and make it what you work like. When I make he takes it and turns it, it vamps up. It goes up a step.
Oh yeah.
So like
it was.
When I hear that song, I can like, oh, okay, that's Dylan. I get it now.
Yes, you can hear his voice within the song. I love that. Yeah, no, and that's like what makes me excited, because it's so cool to like collaborate with people and be like you can make this cool too. Like we can do this thing together. So that's how Is That Enough came out, and then we had someone suggest another producer to us for Yellow Year, and we were like, why not? Like I didn't even know that they had them in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I grew up there. Like I had no idea that people were making music in my community, and so it was cool to like work with different producers and just like get to know the people who are doing the cool things in Nebraska. So we worked with James Fleege. I don't know. Fleege. Yeah.
Fleege is producer. Strawberry Lemonade was tracked and co-produced by him.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so he's Yellow Year, and Yellow Year, and that was just cool because it was like, again, I'm like, I just didn't understand that there were so many like talented people near me, and so we did that project, and then the last producer that I worked with for the EP was someone who went to my college, and we had a mutual friend. It's Ross Grieve, so Noah Flourish's producer. We actually drove to Nashville and started there, and then we recorded in Lincoln at a studio, which I can't think of the name right now. What's the name? My husband's over there. I can't remember his name but it was a studio, and I will think of it. But we did, I'm so sorry. But we did that project there, and then Ross did most of like the editing in Nashville. We just did like the vocals in the studio. That's why I'm like, I'm so sorry. What is it? Coyote Face Recording with Jeremy.
Jeremy, he ended up moving to Kansas City, and he's city now.
I'm perfect. Yes, he has the cutest studio in his backyard.
It was super.
And again,
was awesome.
It's like, okay, like people are just doing this, and I just have no idea that this exists. But every single project was so fun. Like, sorry, that was like the long a
No,
long haul, but it was awesome.
that's all, and that's crazy. That's definitely the people you mentioned. You know, engineers are all people I've worked with, and they're like, and I can definitely hear the perfectionism because all guys are perfectionists, and that's the reason why I've been so attracted with working with them. I met Dylan, you know, actually Philip who runs the grid, who owns the grid.
Yes, yeah.
I, I've been working with Philip for so long, for years, and then you know Dylan always pop over to sessions and everything. That's how I met him, and then like we just I kind of popped up in his studio a few times and heard some of his stuff and what he was doing, and I was like, we just like clicked. You
Yeah.
know? He's genreless, you know, like or genre eclectic, I will say, like me. You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of I love working with artists who love or who are nerds about other genres and not just one specific genre. You know,
Yeah.
that's definitely about Dylan.
Right.
So that's awesome. I can definitely hear that out of the project. You know, people that you work with, those are some very very talented people.